Shalom, guys. Got a good one for you today. One of the great things, particularly in a relationship where the man is the head of the home, one of the real problems that we have is with the adversary whispering in the woman's ear. Whispering in the woman's ear. And we don't always know where it comes from. However, today I really want to talk about a little bit about that exactly, and I'm going to talk about it at least vaguely from a personal experience that I've recently had in my house. However, the details of that you could probably find in Patreon, where I get a little bit more animated in terms of the details and how hot this made me. But let's take a look at some scripture, and let's take a look at how you can be prepared for this and how your women can be prepared for this, because this really is the way that a man's house is undermined, and that's what we're going to look at. So buckle your seatbelts. Here comes the intro. Okay, folks, so where we really need to start is we need to start with the original example that we have of a house being undermined and how it was done. Okay, so let's go to Genesis chapter 3. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, or maybe 1 through 7. It says, "Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which Adonai Yahweh had made. And he said to the woman, Indeed has God said." This is the serpent speaking to the woman. "You shall not eat from any tree of the garden." The woman said to the serpent, "From the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat. But from the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, Elohim has said, You shall not eat from it or touch it, or you will die." The serpent said to the woman, "You surely will not die. For God knows that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, Elohim, knowing good and evil." When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took from its fruit and ate. And she gave also to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loin coverings. All right, guys, we are going to take a look at this passage a little bit today, and we're going to begin the foundation of understanding how the adversary operates and where he chooses to operate in many cases. One of the things we have to understand is that Scripture does tell us that the woman is the weaker vessel. We also understand very clearly from Scripture that the authority structure, 1 Corinthians 11:3, God, Messiah, man, woman. Mark that. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. Typically, the adversary, though, will not go through the authority structure. The adversary will work around the authority structure. The adversary will use deception, will use deceit, will use lies, will use emotional manipulation, will use all of these other sorts of things in order to undermine the man's house. Now, this is not to say that the man is not also, it is not also possible for the man to be misled or anything else. But when the adversary comes, typically the adversary is not going to come after the head or not going to come after the authority, because it's so much easier to deal with deception and deceit and manipulation and all these things by whispering those in your woman's ear. So, recent situation in our house, can't really give any details, but the bottom line is that some people who thought that they were helping, they probably think they were well-meaning, but we'll see a little bit more of that in a minute. decided to take it upon themselves to try to talk to my wife. And they did so by, did they call me? Did they call and say, hey, Pete, we've got a problem. We've got a concern. We're interested in having a conversation? No. Did they have their husbands call? No. Instead, it was little private text messages. Kelly, we're so concerned for you. We just want to know how you're doing, etc. Well, it escalated recently into, something that was much more than that. That was an even closer personal attack. But the bottom line is this. The whispering was going around the head and into her ear and directly trying to pull emotional manipulation. If you need a place to go, we'll be glad to take you. You're always part of our family. We love you. Let me tell you something. There's another passage of Scripture that we need to look at before we understand this a little bit more. Let's go to John chapter 10. John chapter 10 says, truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter by the door into the fold of the sheep, but climbs up some other way, he is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is a shepherd of the sheep. Let me tell you something. Anybody that tries to access your family by going around the head, around the gate, around the authority structure, is a thief and a robber. They are doing the work that the adversary does. They're using the very tactics that the adversary used when he came into the garden. And he didn't go to Adam and say, hey, Adam, this tree, right? Instead, he went to the woman and he said, hey, that tree, it'll make you really smart. You'll know all kinds of things. You'll be equal to the Most High. Deceit, deception, lies. Now, one of the things we know about the authority structure, God, Messiah, man, woman, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3, it says, but I want you to understand that Messiah is the head of every man, and the man is head of woman, and God is the head of Messiah. Understand this. There's no place in that authority structure for pastor, rabbi, priest, your best friend. There's no place in that authority structure for in-laws of any sort. There's no place in that authority structure for your girlfriend. There's no place in that authority structure for anyone else to be speaking dissension or even truth into the family. It has to come through the door, through the gate. Who is the God-ordained protector, spiritual leader, head, etc. of the family? The husband. And so anybody that goes around that, particularly if it's a willful conspiratorial attempt between multiple people, it's coming straight from the pit of hell. That is wickedness of the highest sort. It is deceit and deception that is exactly like the adversary functioned in the garden. That's what that is. Wickedness. That's what that is. Really ticked me off. Ticked me off. Because nobody had the spine to call me. Nobody had the spine to say, hey, Pete, tell me what's going on. We're hearing things. Probably the same people that don't bother actually studying their scriptures to understand that I've been right in the open for years teaching truth. But now they want to come around the door, around the gate, climb over the fence to try to steal a sheep. Men, you need to understand, you need to guard your house. And its family members, they may think they're well-meaning, but in their spirit of religion, not knowing the truth of what the word says, will speak deception and deceit. And they will use, particularly the women, will use emotional manipulation. Tools of the devil. The women probably are also tools of the devil, but that's a little bit more to discuss. Understand, there are many types of serpents out there, okay? Those types of serpents include those who want to go around the husband. That's a type of serpent. We see that in pastors, we see that in elders, we see that in teachers, we see that in lots of other structures that claim to be righteous, but they're hierarchical and they claim to have authority in places they don't have authority. Remember the authority structure: God, Messiah, man, woman. There's no place in there for pastor. There's not even a place in there for elder. I would have a gentle side note that where God, Messiah, man, woman, each man answers directly to the Messiah, there is a place for wisdom and for instruction in righteousness that can come through the patriarch to his sons or to his grandsons. But in terms of being able to go around a man and into his home without the man's permission, that's not there. I don't care how patriarchal you think you are. At the end of the day, the man is responsible for his house. He's not responsible to any other man, period. Others that try to go around the husband, gossips and slanderers. Gossips and slanderers. Oh, we're just talking, trying to help you. We? Who? And your authority comes from where? To say what? See, here's the deal. If the authority doesn't come from the husband, from the Most High through the husband, and from the Most High's word through the husband, you've got a serpent coming around. And this can be common even in very religious structures. People who think that, oh, we've got it all together. We've been studying the scriptures for 50 years or 60 years or whatever. No. No. If you're not the husband, the head of the house, you don't have authority there. You are operating in the spirit and power of the adversary because you're functioning by deceit. You're functioning by deception and manipulation. You're functioning by subversive action against the God-ordained authority for the house. It's wickedness. Gross wickedness. The modus operandi for the adversary: deception, deceit, manipulation, lies, falsehood. Yeah. Anytime, men, anytime, ladies, anytime you see any of those things wrapped into somebody's conversation and they're operating in one of these little things, your antenna should immediately go up. Red flags saying, whoa, don't go there. They're operating in the spirit of the adversary because they're using tactics that come straight out of the adversary's playbook. Yeah, that's the adversary. So, one of the things that I want you to understand here as we look at this, I want you to understand that Men, your family will be attacked. If you are walking in righteousness, if you are doing what the word says to do, you will be attacked. And they won't come to you. Ladies, they will come to you because you are the weaker vessel and because they think that they can twist your emotions and they think that they can turn you against your husband. As soon as you see that type of an operation, you should immediately shut it down and cut it off. There's no place for that because you are giving the enemy a foothold. You should immediately tell them, no. If you have a question for the way my master, my husband runs the house that I live in, or how my master runs his house, you need to go talk to him. Don't talk to me. I'm not interested. And you need to shut it down. Close off the channel, shut off the number, if necessary, block, what have you. There's no reason for somebody to be speaking, counseling rebellion into your heart in an effort to undermine your master's house. And if you partake in that, it's wickedness. I have great respect for my first wife, Kelly, who, when this happened very recently, responded with, do not talk to me. Do not talk to my sons. If you have a problem with something my husband's doing, you go talk to my husband. And my phone still hasn't been ringing. It hasn't. In fact, these people haven't called my phone in months, and they rarely call it over the last 10 years as we've been on this Torah walk, because they know what they're going to get. They're going to get one scripture reference after another that demonstrates that they walk in falsehood. So they try to undermine me by going to my woman. Wickedness. But that's okay. The Most High watches. He sees. And he will take care of you. So, ladies, if this is coming around, shut it down and point him at your husband. Men, if this is coming around, you need to tell him, you have no authority here unless you can show me in the Word where I'm wrong. And if they can't show you in the Word and they have to go hiding behind emotions and emotional arguments and everything else, they can't back it up with Scripture, they have no authority. Zero authority in your life. An interesting passage of Scripture that came up today, Luke chapter 12, starting in verse 49. I have come to cast fire upon the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. But I have a baptism to undergo, and how distressed I am until it is accomplished. Do you suppose I came to grant peace on earth? I tell you, no, rather division. For from now on, 5 members in one household will be divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son and son against father, mother against daughter and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. Here's the point. If you're walking in righteousness, he will begin to pare away from you others who are not. And they will seek to drag you back into the bucket, crabs in a bucket, to drag you back into the cesspool that he saved you from. Don't go there. Don't. Deception, deceit, emotional manipulation, going around the shepherd, going over the wall to get into the sheepfold instead of going through the gate. Yeah. All of those are wickedness. All of those are marks of the adversary. Without question. Men, be on your guard. There's a whole lot of this going on, and it always is. but you have to see where it's coming from and know what to do with it. For King and Kingdom, I bid you shalom.